Welcome to another episode of Ranting and Raving About Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Nicole Evans, and I'm so glad you decided to tune in. Today's episode is about the Space Coast Association of Realtors, and it's going to inform you about the various things that the association does for the community, for Brevard County. Oftentimes when we hear Association of Realtors, we feel or think that it's only about realtors. But the fact of the matter is there are a lot of different things that the association does, not only for realtors, but for you, the people. They go and fight for you on Capitol Hill. Yes, they do. So let's tune into today's episode and welcome my guest. I think you're really going to get a lot out of it. Let's go. Welcome to the Ranting and Raving About Real Estate podcast, where we discuss how real estate can shape your future and build your financial freedom. And I want to welcome to the show my guest, Whitney Hale. Whitney, welcome to Ranting and Raving About Real Estate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So you know what? I feel that we can kind of start off like, let's do some hot topics. I know this is not like on the agenda of what I sent to you. So let's play like we're on The View. So what are some hot topics in real estate that you think we should discuss or talk about?
Ooh, hot topics. Hot topics are, for me, affordable housing.
Okay.
I think that's a big thing. Our growth that we're seeing right now in our county and how we kind of adjust to that. Interest rates, because that's what everyone wants to talk about. So let's just really bring it down to what it is.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot to real estate that people don't know. A lot of the behind the scenes things that are bigger than helping people buy and sell that they're just not seeing.
Wow. So you brought up some great hot topics. So affordable housing. Now here in Brevard County, if any of you have been in Brevard County for any period of time, you know that back in the day, you could probably buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house that was about 1,900 square feet for, let's say, $90,000.
Yeah.
Where has that gone, Whitney?
Oh, we are definitely far from $90,000. Far from that. You're in the 3s and 4s, which is crazy to think of.
So what do you feel is a contributing factor to the escalation of how much the cost of housing has gone up in Brevard County?
Well, I definitely attribute it to COVID. COVID was a simple supply and demand. A lot of people were moving to Florida from other states. And with that, supply and demand automatically will drop those property prices.
Yeah.
And that's where we've kind of stayed. Luckily, other parts, I can't say luckily for our people, but other parts we have seen decline in property values. But Brevard County is kind of holding steady because that second topic, that growth that we're having. Yeah. So we still have that kind of supply and demand issues that's holding our property values up. But I tell everyone, real estate rolls in a cycle.
It does.
We'll eventually see it come down. So for now, it's just kind of holding on to what you got and understanding that it's still a good investment because as long as you're willing to ride that wave, you'll come out on top.
Yeah. And I think when COVID hit, none of us expected the way the housing market was going to turn. So you were receiving like multiple offers. And the crazy part about it is multiple offers that were like $50,000 above asking price.
Yeah, it was insane. I had listings that were literally 20 on a spreadsheet trying to figure out what's the best offer. And you got 10 of them that look exactly the same.
Wow.
But it was all of the people coming in from out of state where their housing cost and prices were higher, so they're able to sell and they're coming with a lot of cash in hand. So it wasn't uncommon to see 50, 40, 60,000 over list price just to win the offer. And that kind of helped draw up those prices because now that's a comp for your neighbor who's going to sell because they sold it for 50,000 more.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a good segue into another hot topic that you mentioned, which is interest rates. So another thing that happened during COVID was interest rates were very low and uncommonly low at that.
Yes.
So that means that with a lower interest rate, you were able to afford more house than you would if the interest rate was a little bit higher. So now with the interest rates
Where are we?
So we unfortunately are at our new normal. I was just at a event that our chief National Association of Realtors economist came and spoke to, and all of the predictions that we're seeing for the next few years are that we're gonna maybe see five will be our new 3. If we're lucky to see it, but we're going to average out anyway between 5 and 6%.
Wow.
But when you really put it in perspective, like you said, 3 and 2.9, those were unheard of interest rates for a solid 2 years.
Yes.
So that also has had some play in things, but I always bring it down, especially when I'm talking to people, it's affordability. Let's ignore what the cost of the house is. Let's ignore the interest rates. Let's break it down to what can you afford monthly? What is a comfortable monthly payment that fits in your budget, fits in your lifestyle? Because you don't want to be home poor either.
Right.
You don't want to say, I got all of this house, but I can't enjoy life because my mortgage payment's taken out.
And that's so awesome because, like you said, affordability and what can you afford a month? And a lot of times people go in with the mindset of saying, oh, I want a $400,000 house. I want a $500,000 house. No, how much can you afford a month? Give me that number. Is it $2,000 a month?
Yep.
Is it $3,000 a month? And then let's work it from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So you did mention some more hot topics, but I think that was good enough to get us started for today. So we kind of just jump right into it. So let the people know, who is Whitney Hale?
So I am a mom of 4, a wife. My husband for over 16 years, and I am a licensed real estate broker associate here in Florida. I've been doing it for about 9.5 years. I also wear some extra hats. I am a director on the Space Coast Association of Realtor Board. I'm also a director on the Florida Realtor Association Board, and chair several committees here at our association as well.
Okay, good. Now, the fact that you are on the board at the Space Coast Association of Realtors, that is one of the main reasons that I wanted to have you on the podcast today. So, I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, Whitney and I, we had our lunch, and she just shared some great information with me about the association, Space Coast Association of Realtors, that I really had no clue about. And I feel that a lot of people that may be listening to us today, they have no clue the purpose, the role of what the association does. So that's kind of why I wanted to have you here today.
Absolutely.
So tell us exactly, what is the role or the purpose of the Space Coast Association of Realtors?
So it's a kind of double edge. Okay. One of the main things is to be the voice of real estate in Brevard County. That one-stop resource that our community can come to. But also, it's for our members. It's more than just MLS access for you to put your listing in. It's really to be a support and education stop. And just a lot of the committees that we have, the programs, over 25 different additional programs that you get with your membership to help you grow as a person, to help you grow your business, and to help you help clients attain homeownership. So, it's a lot. It's a lot more. A lot of people think it's just, I pay my dues so I can put things in the MLS. Or I pay my dues so I can have forms. And it's like, well, actually, a part of you paying your dues and a part of you giving back, we're educating the community. We have created a foundation within our association that has given this year alone, over $98,000 back to local organizations right here in Brevard County.
Wow.
We really want to be, like I said, that one-stop source for our community, not only real estate related, but giving back, figuring out where there's a need and where we can step in to help out.
Okay. So with that, community involvement and doing various things for the community, how does the community have access to the association?
The doors are open Monday through Friday. Feel free to stop in if you have any questions. There's always someone there to help. but also we put out press releases of different events that we're doing.
Okay.
We do a prom event every year where we do Project Prom, and you can literally come in, pick out a prom dress. We've had makeup artists, hairstylists.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even a prom dress. Even the boys, you can come and get a suit, get everything that you need for prom.
Okay.
Again, with our foundation, we give back. So if there's someone in need, or if you're a part of an organization that you know has a need, reach out. Reach out to me. You can even sponsor the organization as a member to help get them on the list to get those funds.
Wow. So that's awesome. So good to know, guys. The Space Coast Association of Realtors, not only are they involved in the community as it relates to what they can do for realtors, but what they can do for everyday citizens of Brevard County. So I love what you said about the prom dress giveaway, and making people feel beautiful that time of our year. So I believe there is some other foundation work that you guys do. Is it BGIN?
BCIN, to Brevard Children in Need.
Okay.
So that started about 13 years ago. It was actually a member who had an idea and said, I love supporting. We need to figure out how to give back. And from there, it grew to not only that committee that we have that puts on different events to raise the funds, but we have a foundation board, and I sit as a director on that board, and that's where we go through the applications and we give back. But we don't just give back, we volunteer our time. We have several other committees that do the same. We, as an association, even though we have these different pockets and different committees, we all work together as one, because we're one voice for the community for real estate.
Awesome.
So we have our Inclusive Culture Committee. It's a committee that we have that is partnering this year with organizations that the Brevard Children in Need Foundation has given funds to step in to teach home literacy, to volunteer with the students and children that are there. We have hosted workshops where we go and speak about homeownership, about the attainability for everyone to be able to have that. As a local association, we are under a bigger umbrella, the Florida Realtors, and then it goes to the national level, and we have what we call our RPAC. So that is a big, and I know we were going to talk about that today, just to even put it on a bigger scale, because it all comes downhill, that we not only meet with legislation to get different things passed to help and protect property rights for our community on the state level, but we bring it down here to the local level. We're looking at what they're doing, and they know that if they're going to make a decision when it comes to property rights, when it comes to affordable housing, when it comes to rezoning, that we are a big part. We're one of the biggest trade organizations on giving support or not getting support. And a lot of times they don't want to go wrong by us.
Now, I'm glad that you brought up RPAC, because a lot of people may not know about the RPAC. And if I'm not mistaken, I know the PAC part stands for Political Action Committee, and the R is at Realtor. Okay, so I think sometimes that has a okay, so let's do this. Fact or myth?
Okay.
The Realtor Political Action Committee is Republican based.
Myth.
Tell me about that.
So there is a misconception because of that R. Just like you said, what does the R stand for? We are actually not party affiliated whatsoever.
Okay.
The sole focus is to protect private property rights, to make sure that our legislation is making decisions that are good for all, not just for one. Sometimes when you're party specific, you're only looking out for yours, and we are right in the middle. We're reaching across the aisles to work together to get things to come together. Some examples of that is RPAC fought during COVID. A lot of states would not allow agents to work. They couldn't support their families. They couldn't go out of the house. RPAC fought so that we would be deemed essential workers to be able to work. We talked about affordable housing. Well, one thing that we fought 3 years for to get passed is our hometown heroes. When that was going through, they kind of asked, well, what do you want this to be? And it was mirrored off of when military would come back and they would have a stipend to help purchase a home and get them settled. And they used to get about $30,000. We said, no, we need more. So we asked for $100 million to go to help those.
$100 million.
Yes, $100 million.
Okay, guys, this is what the Space Coast Association of Realtors does for the community.
And Florida Realtors.
And Florida Realtors in concert with Florida Realtors and the RPAC.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So not only did we get that $100 million, the next year we got another $100 million.
Okay.
And then they said, this is really helping people. They found money in the budget. This is our legislation, found money in the budget to give us another $36 million.
Awesome.
And this year we are going in, and it's in the proposed budget for $200 million. And that's us going and lobbying. So that's us showing up. That's when we show up, they listen.
Wow.
And unfortunately, just like anything, there's some negative stigma when it comes to donating money to certain parties and things like that. And I think that's the cloud over our PAC. But at the end of the day, money talks.
Yeah.
And in order to be a voice there, to be able to lobby, to show up, and I brought some packets with packages of information for our legislators to know this is what we want, not for us, but for our communities. This is what is needed. Insurance reform. It's hit me hard. I'm sure it's hit you hard.
Yes. Let me tell you. So there's just so much that I want to unpack there.
Yes.
Okay. So before we go to the insurance, so we were talking about the Hometown Heroes program.
Yes.
And initially it started off for like a specific group
Essential
of
workers.
people.
Yeah.
So then it was expanded to everyone.
Everyone.
Basically, was our PAC a part of that also?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome. So now, again, before we go into the insurance, there's one thing that you told me about when you guys go to Tallahassee.
Yes.
So you go to Tallahassee, you're there, you're talking to the decision makers. Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So every year, each association in Florida is invited up, and each member who is a part of their associations is invited up to what we call Great American Realtor Days.
Okay.
So we basically storm Tallahassee. We have a Florida Realtor building right down the street from the Capitol, and we shut down that main street that leads to the Capitol, and we are in their offices. Okay. So as Space Coast, we are seeing our legislators that cover our area, and then each association sitting with their particular legislators. And we're going and we're coming in with our talking points of what we're wanting you to do and what we're wanting you to support, because it's a need.
Wow.
So Hometown Heroes was a thing, insurance reform. After the condo situation down south, we really fought for more regulation on that.
Okay.
There's so much that each year we go and fight for, and it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
It's realizing that you have to go to the top to enact change.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in those rooms and you're having those conversations, and when you have thousands of realtors show up, it's hard to look away. Yeah. It's one thing to have 10 lobbyists come in and, hey, we want this, but thousands of realtors shutting down a main street leading into the Capitol.
Wow.
It's big.
So you mentioned insurance reform. So how did you guys have an impact on insurance reform? Because as we know, like the prices of insurance have totally gone up, and then there were a lot of insurance companies that were pulling out of Florida. So tell us about that.
So we had a lot pull out, and just like me and you, we're like, this is enough. Enough's enough. And we have several legislators who are realtors. Okay. We have several legislators whose spouses are realtors. And can you imagine that conversation? I need you to go to work and I need you to make some changes, please.
Chop, chop.
So we really fought for it, and we did have a lot come out. But since we've continued to stay on them and say, hey, we need a need. We need to be able to breathe. People need to be able to afford to have coverage, because unfortunately, the benefit of living with Florida is that we also have to deal with hurricanes. Yeah. So we need to have that. So since then, we have had 9 insurers come back into the state.
Okay.
So we are seeing that turn, and our CEO said it best. It's like watching a cruise ship turn. It's not going to be fast.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've had 9 come in, citizens is slowly depopulating. Okay. We are seeing that shift.
Good.
So it's going to take time. Okay. It's hard when you're like, well, this went up another $1,000 and another $1,000.
Yeah.
But we are working hard to get some relief in that area. Definitely.
Okay. That is great news to hear. So that's awesome. So you're doing great work with the Space Coast Association of our Realtors. And I don't know if you mentioned this earlier. How many years have you been on the board or doing what you're doing?
So actually, I'm currently a fill-in for someone else's spot.
Oh, okay.
I had showed a desire to want to be on the board.
Okay.
I'm the type of person, if I see that there's somewhere we can improve, if I'm not happy with something, I'm not going to complain about it. I want to get in the know and figure out how I can make things better and how I can change it. Throughout my career, as I mentioned, I had 4 kids. So it was never quite the season for me to step into that role. And then finally I realized, you know what? I need to know the inner workings. I need to know how I can make a bigger impact than what I'm only doing for my clients. So I put my name out there, graduated Leadership Academy, and from there I was asked to fill in a spot this year. And then I ran myself for the board for the following year, and I will be a director for the next 3 years on the board. Yes, thank you.
Kudos.
And I was asked to be a director in Florida Realtors during that period of time as well. So I'm honored to be in that space. I'm a firm believer that our association and the head of our association, our leadership, those who sit at that table need to mirror what our members look like.
Wow.
They need to mirror the different experiences of our members, the different levels of production and interest, and that's what we're really trying to do as a whole. And I'm just honored to be at that table.
Wow, that is so good. That is so good. And one of the things that I also discovered when we had lunch is you are actually the first African American to sit on the board at the Space Coast Association of Realtors. So that is like Brevard history, okay?
Yes. The association's been around since 1959, and here we are in 2024.
Wow.
So I don't even have words for it. It's hard to wrap your mind around that could be so. But I think it's like with anything, over time we grow, we learn, and you got to do better.
Yeah. And it's almost sometimes kind of like you said about that cruise ship where changes in process, but sometimes it's just a little bit slow. So I am just so happy to know that you're there on the board, and it's such an honor to sit here with you today to glean from you and learn all about the Space Coast Association of Realtors, what they do not only for me as a realtor, but for the community also. Now, are there any last closing words that you would like to say or let the people know, or just, whatever?
So I guess my last words would be for realtors, for those who are licensed here in Brevard County. My door is always open. I'm here to answer any questions. I'm here to walk you through anything. But you kind of get your license, you go through orientation, and then you hang out at your brokerage. But there is so much more that we offer. I just touched on a little bit today. So I encourage you to get involved, sign up for committees, come to meetings. There's classes, education. There's so much to help you grow in your profession, but also so much that you can take back, so much that we're trying to give back in the community. And if we all work together, we can make such a bigger impact than us trying to all do our little things and just coming together as one. So that's my encouragement.
Oh, that is awesome. So you guys, this again is the great, fantastic Miss Whitney Hale. Let's give it up. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Ranting and Raving about real estate. Again, I am your host, Nicole Evans, and a big shout out to Whitney Hale for joining me today. So remember, guys, tune into the next episode. Peace. God bless.